When the world didn't want me and made me feel small, all I am is broken inside. Some echo identity, who can't find his shadow, always hurts mentally. Alright, so we're going to be breaking down the lyrics for Petrified. This song is about, like, a relationship I was never going to talk about. I don't count this relationship at all in my books. I have tried so hard to forget about it. Obviously, we're going to be talking about it today. I have a whole video going over the story, but I will bring up pieces of the story and just kind of explain things. But yeah, let's get into it. So the intro, this is the, first off, this is the longest song I've ever written. It's 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Has a lot of lyrics to it because there's a lot to talk about with this whole situation. So let's get into the intro. Your relationship and mine, a secret I'll always keep. No one will ever find, memories that haunt my sleep. This song is so deep and personal, you guys have no idea. So, like, again, your relationship and mine, a secret I'll always keep. Because I never wanted to tell anyone about this. I never wanted to talk about it. I never wanted to bring this up again. I was always going to keep it a secret up until now. I really wanted to put it into song, talk about my feelings, and just, you know, the reasons I felt petrified during the entire relationship, because that's what, you know, that's what this whole thing made me feel, was petrified. And then no one will ever find, memories that haunt my sleep, because sometimes I do dream and, like, I, you know, I think about the relationship sometimes. I'm just like, what if, man? What if I had gone back and just kept going? But no. Yeah, no one will ever find, memories that haunt my sleep, because I won't tell anyone. You know, obviously I'm putting this out to the world, but, you know, I need to do it. You know, it's not a want. I need to do it, you know? And then the next line's here. It won't count as my first, but it will be the last time you ruin me or worse, lie to someone like that. We'll get into the lies in a second, but there were like you know, the whole relationship itself, it won't count as my first, because I don't count as my first. The relationship felt like kind of fake. It didn't feel real to me, and I don't want to count it as my first because it was built on lies. It was just, it didn't feel right. You know, even though I was getting to know this girl for 6 months, and we will get into that as well, because it was kind of built on, it didn't feel right. The whole thing did not feel right to me, and it was also long distance. It was also an online relationship technically, so it just didn't feel right in my book at all. But yeah, but it won't count as my first, but it will be the last time you ruin me or worse, lie to someone like that. This is me saying, hey, you're not gonna lie to anyone like that again. And if she has, in like the 5 years I haven't contacted her at all, or however long it's been, that's crazy that she still is lying. Like, dude, you gotta be upfront with everything about yourself. You do not lie to someone. It's just, oh man, it's so bad, dude. It's so bad. But yeah, it will be the last time you ruin me or worse, lie to someone like that. Because again, this song is me saying, hey, I don't want anyone else to feel petrified. I don't. Like, you make someone feel like this, I literally will freak out, you know, because I don't want anyone else to feel like I felt. But moving on to verse 1. So that was the intro. This is verse 1. Never been more alone when I was with you. Felt like your burden, didn't have a clue. And again, like, when I met this girl in this whole VR chat thing, like, I was at a point of double isolation with working a different shift, which was graveyard. I ended up working graveyard shifts, and then also coming off of that, there was also, like, I was dealing with a little bit of rejection, and that made me feel isolated. So double isolation. And then I write here, never been more alone than when I was with you, because again, it was a long distance relationship that was built on lies. It just felt fake, you know? Felt like your burden, didn't have a clue. Like, I again, like, I kind of was, you know, blissfully unaware of, like, how bad the relationship was turning out to be because of the lies and all that sort of stuff, and I felt like a burden because of it, you know, like, I couldn't carry that weight anymore, you know, and didn't have a clue. And then the next line's here, the secrets you hid took their toll on me, thought I'd be fine, then I start to bleed. I had no, like, the whole age thing was, like, revealed early, like, before we confess feelings for one another, and then like she drops the ball of, by the way, you know, like we'll get into it, but she dropped a whole ball on me when I started to reveal feelings. I'm like, so messed up. So I was so furious. I was just like, really? That's two red flags, and it's crazy. And they did take their toll on me because I thought I'd be fine. I was like, I went through with the relationship for 3 months, but then I started to bleed. I started to feel like, nah, I can't do this. I can't handle this anymore. And I kind of put a stop to it by essentially ghosting her, which we will get into. But yeah, and then moving on here, the love you stole made me scream so damn loud. It made me wonder, was it all a dream? Made me like the whole relationship. Like thinking back to it, it made me feel like none of it was real. Like it felt like it did feel like a dream. It felt like this wasn't real. It didn't feel, but it was. And like I have to remember that it's like it wasn't, but it was. It was a relationship that just should have never happened. It was never meant to be, and I don't know why I went through with it in the first place. Because what this essentially did when I ended up, we'll talk about it. But moving on to the pre-chorus before I get too deep into this, I listened to my heart instead of my brain, and now my soul's in eternal pain. This pre-chorus is essentially like saying like I should have been listening to what was in my head than my heart, because my heart kind of failed me, and I just kind of pushed through the, you know, the obvious red flags. I was just like, whatever. I in the moment, like I had just confessed my feelings to this person, and to say no in my heart felt like I would have been an idiot to just like be like, nah, let's not continue this. You know, and I listened to my heart instead of my brain when I should have been listening to my brain, but because I didn't, now my soul's in eternal pain. Because I've moved on from it, but like I will never be able to forget that feeling of being petrified, you know? And again, going into the chorus here, this is where I'm gonna start to get deep on stuff. So the chorus, like a ghost, I faded to gray, like a raven, you flew away. This is a play on the username of the girl I met through VR chat, and her username was RavenGhostX. I remember that. And literally, like a ghost, I faded to gray. That lyric explained basically I ghosted her and left. And in doing this, I actually uninstalled Steam because I was just like, this whole experience, this whole relationship building in VR chat ruined Steam for me. So I uninstalled Steam, basically just didn't want to use it after that. And I love that it's trauma that has tied me to Steam, and that's why I don't use it anymore. And yeah, I don't know, I mean I play on console anyway, but like it was such a bad situation to the point where I was like, yeah, I'm done with this whole platform as a whole, you know? But yeah, and then the next line here, like a raven, you flew away. Because again, we basically just parted ways. I parted ways first from her, not saying a word, but then she just flew, you know, she obviously flew away, probably moved on. Hopefully, you know, that's what I hope. But moving on here, like a castle, I had my wall, like a knight, I'll always fall. Kind of references to medieval stuff, but also it's a reference to my username, because my name on there was Castle, and like a castle, I had my wall, like a knight, I'll always fall. Because, like, I didn't share a whole, like, in getting to know her, I didn't share everything about myself, because obviously 6 months, maybe I should shared more, but, like, obviously it's the beginnings of a relationship, I didn't share every single thing. So I had my wall, so I did put up my defenses, I didn't share every single thing, but I was willing to, you know, and then like a knight, I'll always fall, because this is a reference to everything I've kind of dealt with in my life, and the fact that, like, I finally got the chance to experience what a relationship is, and I'll always fall. It fell apart anyway, you know? And then moving on here, but inside, thanks to you, I'm just so numb to it, the feeling of being alive. Because of you, I have to face the feeling of being petrified. Man, I poured my heart out in this song. I poured every single idea I could into this song. I'm just so numb to it, the feeling of being alive, because that's what it feels like when you're alone. You're just so numb to life, you know. Because I had this double isolation going on, I was so numb to everything. I was so numb to the feeling of being alive. And then I wrote here, because of you, I have to face the feeling of being petrified. Because of you, because of what you did, because of those lies, all the twists and turns, I have to face the feeling of being petrified. And I came to terms with how I felt about the whole relationship, I think a year or two after writing this song. And I was just like, yeah, that is the definite feeling I am feeling, which is petrified. I felt like I was stuck in this relationship that I could not get out of. And that's why I felt the way I did. And I was trying to figure out what it was. And now, because of this song, I have to face the feeling of being petrified. And that helps me move past this relationship. And that was kind of the goal in writing this. So moving on from the chorus here, going into the post-chorus, which is just, it's a repetitive, like, I came up with this after the song had been written. I was just like, I want a post-chorus to kind of hit how I felt. Because saying just petrified didn't really hit me, and I kind of came up with the, you left me petrified, 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 you left me petrified, 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 you left me. And I actually do a little bit of a scream. I say a little bit, it's kind of a scream on the end of this post-chorus, because I wanted to emphasize how I felt about the whole situationship, you know? And I wanted that to be, this post-chorus is kind of like leaving a mark on this song, being like, hey, this is how I felt, and I want you all to know this. So, moving on to verse 2. Because of your lies, your age, your kids, I've had to deny you were my first. So these were the lies that she ended up telling me, was that before we confessed our feelings, she lied about her age. She said she was in her 20s, she was actually in her 30s, was like, and I was 22 at the time, so I was just like, that's such a huge red flag. But I was like, okay, I'll make it work. And I was like, I don't know why at that point I should have just been like, okay, you lied about something. But at that point we weren't dating, so it wasn't a huge deal, you know? But lying about the age thing kind of, I was like, really? I didn't even lie about my age. I said I was 22. Like, I would not have lied about that, you know? And yeah, and then the your kids line, this was the ball that she dropped for me when we both revealed feelings for each other. This was the ball. She was like, yeah, I've got 2 kids. And I'm like, I freaked out. I panicked. I was just so, it was such a like, a whirlwind of emotions. It was like, we just revealed our feelings for each other. You have 2 kids. And I ended up going, like, stepping away because we were communicating on Discord about this. I ended up stepping away and going to go work on something. I was just like, I can't do this. But I ended up going through with it because I was just like, I need to see where this goes, because I was so committed. I had feelings for her at the time, and I was so committed to seeing where the relationship would go. I should not have done this, because I was listening to my heart instead of my brain. And that's, you know, that's why I had to deny that she was my first, because I don't, that whole relationship was a whirlwind. It was just like, it should not have happened. It shouldn't have. And I'm going to deny always that she was my first. I'm going to deny that, and that's not going to change, you know? And then continuing here, and it's the worst when we were a match. I never had that. I never had a person at that point. I had been rejected so many times. At that point, I was just like, I really wanted this to work, and I could not get it to work. I just ended up leaving. I never had that. It's just the worst. I can't call her my first because it doesn't feel right, you know? And yeah, it's just crazy that I had a match right there, and I never had that, and I just really wanted to go through with it because I had to try, you know? But then moving on to the lines here, just depression, asking the question, why'd you lead me astray when I was about to say you meant everything to me? So, yeah, like, I literally only had depression. That's so bad to say, but, like, it is true. I only had depression. I didn't feel any other way at the time before I met her. I was just like, I'm just sad. I'm on this VR chat game because I want to be social. I want to interact with people. I just want to be present, you know? And then these last 4 lines here. asking the question, why'd you lead me astray when I was about to say you meant everything to me? There was a point in our relationship when it officially started, like I think a month and a half in or 2 months in, where I was about to say the words, I love you. And I was about to say you meant everything to me. And then I just asking the question, why'd you lead me astray? Because I was about to say the words. I was thinking about it. I was like, how do I feel about her? I was about to say the words, and it drove me nuts because I was like, she's had 2 red flags, lied to me twice, and I was just like, I was dealing with a whirlwind of emotions because of the ball she dropped, and I was just like, do I actually love this person, or am I leaving her? And at that point, I was just like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. I can't. It's just like, I couldn't do it. And that was probably the worst feeling in that relationship, was like feeling the way I felt, and I was like, but I can't go through with this. I can't. It doesn't make sense. It's long distance, 2 red flags, huge age gap. I mean, you know, it just, to me, it was just like, I cannot continue with this. I can't. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It was such a weird situationship, and the whole reason why I never talked about it was because I was just like in such a dark place. I mean, before and after. And yeah, man, it was just, this was something I wanted to keep private, and the fact that I'm talking about it in this video is crazy, but I need to get through it. So again, pre-chorus is a little bit different. It just says, I listen to my heart instead of my brain. I think that's the last pre-chorus as well, but I don't know. I think it is. Then moving on, chorus, again, is the same. Petrified thing is still there. Doesn't change at all. The chorus does change up a little bit, but we'll keep going here. I ended up doing again, post-chorus, but I ended up doing a verse 3 because I had so much to say in this song that I wanted to get off my chest. So verse 3, convinced I'll never find the one, even at the end when it's all said and done. Because after this whole relationship had happened, and after it ended, I was just convinced at that point that I was never going to find the one. Even at the end when it's all said and done. Like, I was never going to find the right person to be with. And that messed me up so bad. And to this day, I still don't know if I'm ever going to find the person that is for me. And that's what sucks. But yeah, and then I'll make my amends and find what is my own, search for love again. And you know, I have written a song. It's not coming out for a while. It'll probably be out on the very last album, but it is a song talking about like wishing her the best, even though like it ended so poorly, you know? So I have written a song about that. It's not going to come out for a while, but it is a really, it's a somber song just talking about like, you know, this song is obviously talking about how I felt and how I still feel, and you know, I wanted to get this out there. And then I also just have a song of like, hey, I hope you find what you're looking for, you know? So kind of like there's the bad side of things, and there's the good side of things, you know? But yeah, find what is my own, search for love again, because at this point, like, I'm just like, you know, what'll happen will happen. But like, if it does happen, that would be really cool. You know, finding love again, or for the first time at this point, you know? And then, though I'm destined to be alone, I won't be giving in. Though I'm destined to be alone, because it feels like that, man. It just feels like I'm destined to be alone for the rest of my life. But even though I am, if that's the case, if I am destined to be alone, I still won't be giving in. I'm still going to try my best to find someone who I can be with for the rest of my life. And, you know, we'll see if that happens. And then verse 3 goes straight into the bridge. 6 months of my life to understand you, 3 months of pride to finally see through. So six months of my life to understand you, because again, it took me 6 months to get to know this girl, and obviously when we revealed feelings for one another, it took 6 months to get to that point, and she dropped that ball, and I was just in a whirlwind of emotions, and then 3 months of pride to finally see through, because it took me 3 months to realize that like this wasn't gonna work. I finally saw through like what I needed to do and what I needed to get away from, you know. And then moving on here, the worst decision, almost my prison, this head-on collision. There were just so many feelings I was feeling when writing this, and I was like, I want to write everything that this feeling of being petrified is making me feeling. Because this relationship could have almost been my prison, you know? Like, it was the worst decision, could have been my prison. it was a head-on collision, because it was just this world. These three things just feel like it was a whole whirlwind of emotions. And moving on here, made it impossible. I'm still hurting. You're responsible for this undeserving love I will never see because you broke me. Like, I still am hurting from it. I think even talking about the situations, like, I still feel the way I feel about this relationship to this day. Like, I don't feel any different. And yeah, I'm still hurting. But the whole made it impossible. It made it impossible to, like, move on, you know, because I think about this sometimes. And, you know, she's responsible for this undeserving love I will never see, because I was about to tell her how I felt, like, beyond what I've already said. And it's just like, it wasn't right, man. It wasn't right to, like, have the feeling of love and never be able to see it, because she, you know, she broke me. She made me feel like I couldn't love anyone, you know, like I couldn't find the right person. That's how I felt in the whole relationship. I just wanted to get out of it and move past it, and it was just the worst decision of my life, man. It was a hard thing to just be like, yeah, I'm done. And after that, I was just like, brother, come on, you know? But moving on here, chorus changes a little bit. It goes from just the like a ghost, I faded away, like a raven, you flew away, and then the only line that does change in the chorus, or maybe not in the, oh, no, not, I'm thinking of a different song. Chorus is basically the same, it just changes a little bit, gets a little shorter, and then post-chorus, and then there is another part here with an outro. So, first few lines here, are you satisfied? I've been all alone, so terrified. So, I've been all alone, so terrified. Like, are you satisfied? Because in my head, I was just like, she's probably, like, laughing that I'm all alone and terrified about it. You know, and I don't think that's how she feels. I'm pretty sure she was like, yeah, you know, I probably pushed him into something he wasn't ready for, and, you know, lied twice, 2 red flags. I feel like she knows what she did, and she should feel sorry for it, you know? She kind of, like, I don't want to say, like, she kind of blindsided me a little bit. Speaking of, the next few lines here, no looking back since I'm blind. No looking back, because if I did, like, there's no going back to that relationship. It's I mean, that's been gone for 5 years, you know, that's not happening again. And it's the whole since I'm blind line, just kind of goes to like I'm never gonna see that past again, you know, that's gone. And then the last 4 lines here, cause after everything, it's been years, and I still feel petrified, because I still feel the way I felt all those years ago. Maybe a little less, but, like, it's because I haven't found someone to be with, or found my person yet, and I still feel petrified. I still feel the feelings I felt all those years ago, and that's what sucks. So, if you want to, listen.